Hey Queen, what's up girl? It has been a minute since I've had to record an episode from my car, but here we are. So any background noise that you might happen to hear, any terrible audio quality, my bad, but I wanted to go ahead and get this episode up for you. And today has been extremely busy, so I have not had a chance to sit down at my laptop and record. So we're making do with what we got, which is my MO and the way that your girl lives. I am just the person who is like, we're going to do what we got to do, and we're going to make things happen, and they don't have to be perfect, and they don't have to be glamorous, and you just do what you do and you make it enough and do your best. God does the rest. So that's where we're at for the day with today's episode. And I am super excited to share today's episode with you guys. It is a throwback to a mastermind that I did 2 years ago, because it was at the end of 2019 and it is now the beginning of 2020. Oh my gosh, y'all, that is just insane to me. But I did this mastermind at the end of 2019 for some network marketers and social sellers. And what you're going to hear today is one of the live calls that we did during that mastermind. So if you hear me referring to past calls, or if you hear me referring to anything related to that, it's because it was a 8-week mastermind that I did with weekly live calls, pretty similar to what is going to be going down in the Souled Out Sales Mastermind, which if you have not applied, girl, time is ticking. Like, we are at the last final moments for you to be able to apply to join Souled Out Sales Mastermind. So get over to thetiffanywen.com/mastermind for all the info and to submit that application. But anyways, so today's call, I'm going to be talking about having a growth mindset, and you'll hear me share some tips on what you can be doing to keep your mindset in a place of constant, consistent, forward thinking. And it is so good. I'm like, every time I go back and listen to a past training or call or anything that I did, a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I blow my own mind. And I'm just like, dang girl, you are so good. It's so funny. But I love just going back and hearing the things that I was saying before I was in the position that I am today, where I have this absolutely amazing, incredible team in network marketing, and I am making multiple 6 figures in my business, and my team has sold over $5 million in the past 2 years. It's insane. And so to hear me talking about these things, and these are the exact things that I literally apply into my own life and business, which has taken me from where I was in 2019 doing that mastermind to where I am now. And it's just so crazy to hear myself saying these things, knowing, just like talking about them, but not even knowing what was coming for me, not even knowing what was about to happen and the explosion in my life and business that was coming, but also at the same time knowing it, like knowing that the next thing that was going to happen was going to be next level, because that's just the way my belief and my faith and my action is set up. I just know that I'm going to continuously be leveling up over and over and over again. But if you would have asked me in 2019 what that would look like, I wouldn't have had any idea. I just would have known that the best is yet to come. And I believe that for every single person, that is the mindset that you should have. And so I am going to be digging into that on today's episode. If you like this style of training, get your booty to thetiffanywen.com/mastermind to get your application in for the Sold Out Sales Mastermind. And starting tomorrow, I am doing a free 3-day training in the Facebook group that you can join for some Sold Out Sales Challenge Week goodness. So if you want to join the Facebook group, you're going to go to tiffanywenvip.com, tell all your friends. It is going to be awesome. 3 days of free trainings with me on having a business where you are selling from your soul. So you don't want to miss that. Go to tiffanywenvip.com to get inside of the Facebook group, and to apply for the mastermind, you're going to go to thetiffanywen.com/mastermind. Those links will all be in the show notes when you scroll down, so you can find them there. But I am so excited to jam on today's topic. You're going to love it, and I can't wait to hear what you think. So without further ado, fix that crown, queen, and take a seat on that throne. Let's do it.
Hey queen, welcome to the Cash In on Confidence podcast, the show for social sellers who want to make a big impact and income. We are on a mission to transform the network marketing space by challenging societal standards and industry norms. I'm Tiffany Wynn. After spending years running circles in my business, I finally ditched the grind for grace and built a multiple 6-figure social selling empire. Around here, we mix faith with action to build businesses that pursue our purpose, use our gifts for glory, and align with our soul goals. If you're ready to grow against the grain and go from overwhelmed to overflowing, uncertain to unstoppable, striving to thriving, and turn that next level confidence into cash, then take a seat on that throne and fix your crown, queen, because we're about to pray, slay, and get paid.
Okay, so the next thing that you can do to ensure that you're always going to be moving forward and keep you from getting stuck is to look at what you want your life to look like. And this is another journaling thing, is to start doing what you want your life to look like next year. So I kind of shared a little bit about this on the last mastermind call. I shared about how you can start to do a journaling process. And you can do this for next year. You can do this for next month. You could do it for next week. But you journal out what your ideal day looks like for, a time period in the future. Okay, so what that would look like, and this is how I've always done it, is I would write the date at the top. So like a lot of times I would just choose like 1 year from now. So today is December 10th, 2019. So I would journal out as if it was December 10th, 2020. Write out what that would look like for me, right? So what is December 20th in 2020 going to look like for me? And I would literally write out from sunrise when I woke up in the morning until when I went to bed that night, what that day looks like for me. So I would talk about how I woke up, feeling rested. I woke up, I let my body wake up naturally, maybe is something that you desire. Maybe you desire to, be able to wake up early, or maybe you desire to want to sleep in, or like whatever your ideal day would look like in your life and in your business, you would literally write about it as if it was already happening a year from now, right? So you're writing it as if it's happening now. So you're not going to say, on this day, I am going to blah, blah, blah. No, you're like, oh my gosh, I had the best night's sleep last night. It felt so good to be able to go to bed, and not feel, stressed out. I woke up this morning feeling refreshed. I let my body be able to wake up naturally. I felt so well rested. I went downstairs and made myself a cup of coffee, and then went into my office and had my quiet time. I got to read my Bible, have my meditation time. I did my journaling, and then it was time to start my day. I had 3 client calls in the morning, which all were amazing. And then I was able to go, to the park and play with my daughter, or whatever you want your life to look like, in that time period, you're going to journal it out as if it is happening right now. And here is how that relates to having a growth mindset. Okay, what that does is it keeps you looking forward, right? So it keeps you looking at, a year from now. So instead of looking at what your life looks like right now, it keeps you with a forward motion mindset, because it's so easy to get caught up in looking at your life right now and being like, gosh, I don't have the clients that I want. I'm not making the income that I want. My business doesn't look like the way I want it to. And letting that keep you stuck, right? So typically, here's what happens. And this is why you get, typically a lot of times, this is why you can get stuck in your business, because you're looking at the right now, and because you might not be seeing the things that you want to see in your business right now, you self-sabotage, right? So you might set, and this is kind of the same thing that we kind of touched on last week when we talked about the difference between setting an intention and setting a goal. And I talked about how a lot of times when you set these goals and it looks like it's not going to happen, you end up self-sabotaging because your momentum slows down, because you're like, well, it's not going to happen anyway. Why am I going to keep, working so hard? Why am I going to keep doing all these things that I'm doing if I'm not going to hit the goal anyway? And so then we end up self-sabotaging. This is kind of the same thing, because you see what your life looks like right now, and it doesn't look all glittery and perfect, and you're not having the number of clients, you're not having the income that you want, you might not be seeing, I'm not saying you don't, but you might not, right? So maybe you thought that at this point in your business, you'd be making, $5,000 a month, but you're only making 500. Or maybe you thought that you'd have a fully booked scheduled clients and you only have one. Or maybe you thought that you'd have, a team of 50 people in your network marketing business, but you only have 2, right? Or whatever it is. So you have set these expectations in your head of what you want things to look like. And even if they don't look that way, it's so easy to get trapped in the now and only looking at what's going on right now. It's easy right now to open up your bank account and not see what you really want to see. It's easy to see that your bank account is closer to the 0 end than it is to the whatever end you want it to be at, right? Or to see what's happening right now. And what that does is it slows your momentum, because you're focused on what you don't have, right? When you're focused on what you don't have, you're going to get more of what you don't have, right? So if you focus on not having the bank account that you want to have, you're going to get more of not the bank account that you want to have. If you're focused on not having the number of clients that you want to have, you're going to get more of the not clients, right? If you're focused on the not team members, you're going to get more of the not team members, right? So what doing this journaling process does, and setting yourself up, looking at what your life is going to look like next month or next year or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, what that does is it trains your brain to be excited about what's coming next, right? And so then you can get excited about what's going to be happening next, rather than being upset about what's happening right now, right? So rather than focusing on what's happening right now, it lets your brain get excited and get into the energy and the vibration of what is possible to come. Like, what's the best is yet to come, right? We've all heard that phrase, the best is yet to come. So doing this journaling process helps you to see that, yes, the best is yet to come. It might not be right now, but I'm not worried about that, right? I'm going to stay focused on what's to come. And so what happens when you are excited about the future and you're thinking about the best being yet to come, you start to work like the best is yet to come. So rather than being upset that your bank account doesn't look the way you want it to look, or that you don't have the number of clients that you want to have, or that you don't have the team that you want to have, it gets you excited to think, oh my gosh, but next year I'm going to have a full schedule. Next year, my bank account's going to be sitting pretty. Next year, I'm going to be able to take my family on a trip over Christmas break, or whatever it is that you desire. It's going to get you excited about it. And then you're going to start to work your business as if you have gotten those things that you want to get, right? So if you need even more help from doing this, you can take what you write, right? So if I'm writing for December 10th, 2020, I'm gonna write out my entire day. And don't overthink this, you guys. Let your ego kick your ego out the door when you're doing this, because your ego will screw you over every single time. Your ego is there to protect you. Your ego is the reason that you keep playing small, because your ego says, oh my gosh, we can't dream too big. We can't dream too big, guys. We don't want to dream too big, because what if it doesn't happen? You have to play smaller. You can't have all the things that you want to have, because that is not safe. Because I don't want you to get upset. I don't want you to get hurt if you don't get it. That's what your ego is telling you. Your ego doesn't want you to fail. Your ego doesn't want you to get hurt. Your ego doesn't want you to get upset. So your ego is going to make you play small, right? So your ego is going to say, even though your heart's desire is to quit your job next year, your ego is going to say, oh my gosh, that's too big. That's too soon. Not possible. What if it doesn't happen? Let's kick it down a notch. Let's say 5 years from now, okay? Like, so your ego is going to be that little part of your brain that makes you want to play smaller than what your heart's desire says. So when you're doing this journaling prompt and you're doing this activity, you have to come from a heart's desire place. What is the first thing that your heart says when you're journaling this out? Don't overthink it. Just free write and let it flow out from your heart, right? So let it come from your heart, not from your ear, right? Not from your brain. Let it flow from your heart, because when you let it flow from your heart, you get to be truly honest, right? Your ego is going to try to protect you. So your ego is going to put those little blocks in your head that make you change from saying 10,000 to 5,000. That ego is going to be the thing that puts that block in your brain that makes you say, first off, you said that you wanted to be able to, take your family on a trip to, wherever for Christmas. But your ego is going to be that thing that says, oh, that's like really not realistic though. So let's not go there, right? We're not talking about realistic. We're talking about what our heart desires, right? And heart's desires are rarely ever realistic, right? God does not place realistic desires in our heart. Why? Because then we would not need his help, right? Like if God gave us desires that were realistic, then what would we need God for? We'd be able to accomplish all these things on our own. We'd be able to go and do all these things that we want to do all by ourselves. We wouldn't need his help. We wouldn't need his guidance. We wouldn't need his support. So God gives us these huge, scary, amazing, overcomplicated heart's desires because he knows that we're going to need him to accomplish them, right? So if you are dreaming from your heart, then you are going to have desires that seem impossible, or that don't seem realistic, or that seem too far-fetched, or that seem like you're not going to be able to accomplish them, in the time frame that you say that you want to accomplish it, right? So you have to get out of the ego brain, right? You have to let the ego brain go, because your ego brain is going to try to protect you and keep you from playing to the level that you really want to play. So when you are doing this, you have to go from your heart. What is your heart truly desiring? Because that's how you're going to be able to stay in that forward motion. When you play small, that's what keeps you stuck. You stay stuck when you play small, because then you have nothing more to shoot for. But if you're shooting for something that seems like, whoa, right? Then that's what's going to keep you playing and showing up at a bigger level and becoming the person that you need to become to accomplish those things. That's how you stay in forward motion. That's how you stay in a growth mindset. That's how you stay in a growth position, when you start to look at things from that heart's desire place rather than that ego brain place. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. Amen. Right. Okay, so that is the other way that you can stay in a growth position, by looking at what things are going to look like for you next week, next month, next year, in 6 months, even in 3 months. What are things going to look like? Journal that out. Go from your heart's desires, journal it out, and then look at that and say, if this is what my heart really desires, what can I be doing? Actual like practical steps. What are the actual practical things that I can be doing to move myself closer to this, right? So if you're saying in your heart's desires in your journal, you notice that you said that you woke up before the kids woke up so that you could have quiet time to yourself. But now, right now, you're waking up, you know, and you're having to like rush and get your kids ready for school, then you know, like, oh, my heart's desire and what I'm doing right now don't match. So what do I need to do to get closer to my heart's desire? Well, I need to start getting my butt up earlier in the morning, right? So that would be something like for me, like I thrive when I wake up before Savvy wakes up. When I get to have my alone time, that is when I know I am thriving, right? When I used to try to wake up and like sleep in and wake up whenever she woke up, I was a hot freaking mess. But now that I have the time to do my thing and get a workout in the mornings most days and, you know, have my coffee and be able to meditate and be able to read my Bible and whatever else I get to do in the mornings, I know that that is where I thrive. So when I am writing out my, you know, what my life looks like in 6 months, I know that what it looks like is not waking up when Savvy wakes up. It's looking like me getting up and having an hour or two of time to myself. So if that, what my real life right now looks like doesn't match my dream heart's desires life, then I know, all right, I need to figure out how to bridge the gap, right? Where's the gaps? How can I close these gaps? What are the puzzle pieces that are missing that I can input right now and get me closer to what I want? So maybe right now, it's not waking up an hour earlier than your kids. Maybe it's just waking up 30 minutes earlier and you gradually get to that hour earlier so you can get closer to where you want to be. Yes, Savannah. Yes. Oh. Okay, guys. So that is how you can get closer and to where you want to be and stay in that growth mindset. So you're constantly moving forward and getting closer and closer to where you want to be. Does anybody have questions on that? So it's super important when you're doing this to really come from the heart's desires. Like I cannot stress that enough, to come from your heart's desires, because that is going to help you bridge the gaps to get you closer to where you want to be. Because when you look at what your heart's desires, so you just free flow. So like when I'm writing this, I don't overthink it. Like I'm not just sitting here like, oh, what would I do next? Let me think. Would I have lunch or would I go to this? Like, I'm just like, I just write until I cannot, like, I just let my brain, like, I almost like try to turn my brain off and go from like autopilot, right? And just see. And then a lot of times I'll look up and have to reread what I just wrote, because a lot of times I wasn't writing from like a conscious place. I was letting my subconscious write. So I was letting my heart's desires, like that little piece of your brain that you don't activate all the time, I was coming from that place. So a lot of times I'll go back and I'll reread it and I'll be like, ooh, yes, this feels really good, but I wouldn't have gotten the same result if I would have written it from a place of like, let me double think, let me think again, let me check what I said, was that realistic? Oh, let me scratch this out because that probably wouldn't be realistic, you know? So don't think of it like that. Just truly let your heart's desires flow. And even if it doesn't seem realistic, that's okay. That's how you continue to move closer and closer to that thing. It might not happen in the 6 months that you write it in, but it's going to help you get closer and closer to that thing. So then you'll be able to look and you'll read your thing back to yourself and you're like, oh, I said that I had lunch with, my girlfriends. Like, am I currently having lunch with my girlfriends? No. So maybe that's something I want to start incorporating into my maybe once a month, I'm going to try to pull my girlfriends together to have a lunch or like whatever. So that way you get closer and closer to having that dream life, that dream business that you truly desire by doing this journaling prompt and this journaling activity. Does that make sense, you guys? Does anybody have any questions on that? So the mindset piece of this is digging into what you really and truly desire and what you really and truly want. Putting the ego aside, coming from the heart and writing out what you really and truly want. That's the mindset piece. The practical business strategy piece is looking at what you just wrote and then figuring out what are the actual practical steps that I can apply into my life and in my business that are going to help me bridge the gap between where I'm at and how I can get closer to where I want to be. And this is an activity that you can do every day, right? So this isn't just like a one and done thing. This is something that you can incorporate, or at least like a couple of times a week, a few times a week, you do this activity and you just free flow. So like when I do it, I even write it based on like what's happening around that time of year. So like if I'm writing it right now, I might say that like I took my daughter to go see the zoo lights, or I might say that like I was able to go and drop off like 100 toys to this charity, or like whatever. So like whatever's happening typically around this time of year, or around that time of year that you're writing it in, I go from that place too. So like I would write on my birthday, and I would look like, what would I want my birthday to look like next year? Like I would want to be able to like fly to like this place and like take my husband and blah, blah, blah. So I would write it like based on what's going on, because that helps you get into like that feeling of it actually being real too. And that's like, so what you're doing here is basically manifesting, but then manifestation doesn't happen without action. So a lot of times people are like, oh, you just got to manifest your clients into your business. But like, clients aren't going to fall from the sky. You got to figure out how to actually get them in the door. So like, yes, you can manifest things happening in your life by having that belief that they're coming, right? So really filling into what you journal out about what you want your life to look like, and manifesting that and visualizing it, picturing it. So that's another part of this. Once you write it out, like actually close your eyes and picture that day happening, like play a movie in your head of what that day is going to look like for you, and get into that feeling and that energy of it happening, getting excited about it, not focusing on the crap that might be going on in your life right now, but getting excited about what's coming up for you. But then also saying, all right, but this isn't going to happen if I'm doing the things that I'm doing right now. Clearly, right? If I'm doing the things that I'm doing right now, I'm not going to be able to get to where I want to get. What else do I need to be doing to get to get this life that I just wrote about, right? What else can I be doing? What are the practical things that I can be doing to get this life that I want to have? Like, do I need to raise my prices? Do I need to be talking to more people? Do I need more exposure? Like, how can I expose myself more? Do I need to be, going into more groups and sharing about my stuff in more groups? Do I need to be on, Pinterest? Do I need to start Pinterest and be on Pinterest? Do I need to start a YouTube? Do I need to start a podcast? What can I be doing to get me closer to having this dream life that I want to have, right? What are the practical things that I need to be doing while staying in that mindset of this is coming for me? This is a life that I get to have in the future. It's exciting. The best is yet to come. I'm excited to get these things that are coming to me. And here's how I'm going to get them, right? Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions on that, and how to stay in a growth mindset so you are constantly moving in a forward motion? Awesome, awesome. All right, so here's what we are going to do for this week, you guys. This week, I want you guys to start applying this. So I want you guys to do this at least a couple of times this week. If you do it like daily, even better. But apply this. So you can do it for next year. So you can start doing it for next year. You can start doing it for next month. You can start doing it for 6 months from now. The time really doesn't matter as long as it's something that's coming in the future. And then creating your plan, right? So create your plan to help you see where the gaps are, right? Where are the gaps between what's going on with me right now, right? And what I want to be going on with me. How can I get my life and my business from where it is right now closer to where that 2020 vision of my life is, right? Or that, December 2020, or that May 2020, 6 months from now, life is going to be. How can I, what actual steps do I need to do? What things do I need to apply? Do I need to start waking up earlier? Do I need to start going to bed earlier? That is me. That is one of my things. I'm like, I know that I thrive when I get more sleep at night. Like if I don't get enough sleep at night, the next day I am dragging. So I need to start going to bed earlier. When I'm writing my thing out, it does not say anywhere in my little vision that I'm going to bed at midnight every night, right? So that is something I gotta stop. I gotta figure out what I need to be doing so I can get my bed in the butt earlier so I can wake up feeling more refreshed in the morning, right? So I got to figure out how I can make that happen, right? And based on like what is going on in this day, what actual things can I apply to help me get there, right? So create your actual list of things. And this is what I do. I literally list out like, all right, so I kind of like pick apart my little day that I wrote. So I'm like, ooh, I talked about waking up early. I talked about, having quiet time. Like, am I having quiet time right now? Or am I kind of pushing that off to the side and saying it's not that important, right? Or, I talk about, reading my Bible. Am I reading my Bible right now? Or am I only doing that a couple of times a week, right? So like looking at like what you write and kind of, reflecting on what am I doing now that is not happening in this, and what am I not doing now that is happening in this? Because sometimes there's things that you need to remove. It's not all about what you need to add. Sometimes you're doing things that you didn't refer to in your dream thing that you need to remove, right? So like for me, one of the things I might need to remove is staying up till midnight, like, or being on my phone so much, right? I didn't talk about how I was on my phone all day. So maybe that's something that I need to stop, right? So like look at what you need to add into your day and what you need to remove, creating a list for that, and then working on actually applying that and actually putting that to use and putting that into your business.
Was 2019 Tiffany not so fire already? Now just imagine taking 2019 Tiffany, multiplying that times 10 to create the 2022 Tiffany that you guys are listening to right now, and putting that into a mastermind. Like, come on, people. Get to thetiffanywen.com/mastermind to apply for the SOS Mastermind, Sold Out Sales. We are going to be helping you learn how to sell from your soul so you can make a business that creates a big impact and a big income. If that is your jam, I would love to have you in the mastermind. Go submit your application because time is ticking and we are about to get started. If you love today's episode, you know what to do. Take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram at @TheTiffanyWin and at Cash In on Confidence, and come hang out with us in the Facebook group where we're going to be starting the Sold Out Sales Challenge Week tomorrow. So go to TiffanyWinVIP.com. I'm so excited for all of the amazing things that are in store over these next few weeks and months coming up for all of you and your lives and your businesses. I have so much goodness that I am just ready to pour out, ready to serve you with. So be sure you've hit subscribed. Be sure you're sharing this with all of your team, all of your friends, because we got some impact to make, ladies, and some money to make so that we can make big things happen for God's kingdom. Let's go do it. I love you so much, and I will talk to you again real soon. Bye. Girlfriend, did you love that episode, or did you love that episode? Let me know. Take a screenshot, put it in your Instagram stories, and tag me at @TheTiffanyWin. The more that we can share the love of this podcast, the more women that we are going to help. And the more women that we help, the more women we're going to see walking around being audacious about their ambition and glowing unapologetically. Would that not be the kind of world that you want to live in?